Welcome back to God Dreamers, the podcast where we explore stories of faith, resilience, and the extraordinary power of the human spirit. Today we have a truly inspiring guest joining us, Antonio Taylor. Antonio is a childhood cancer survivor, a testament to courage, and a living example of how faith can guide us through even the darkest of times. He's here to share his incredible journey from battling a life-threatening illness to achieving remarkable success. Get ready to be moved, inspired, and reminded that even in the face of immense challenges, dreams can not only survive, but thrive. Let's welcome Antonio Taylor to God Dreamers.
What's up, fam? Welcome to another edition of God Dreamers. Hope you guys are doing well. I know I am. Today, I wanted to bring a special guest on. We're going to be talking about overcoming challenges, life challenges, and we all have dealt with life challenges one way or another. Some have dealt with it in a greater degree than others, but nonetheless, we all have challenges. But today's special guest kind of dealt with a serious challenge early on in life. And he's going to share a little bit more about that. But I just wanted to say thank you, Antonio, for hanging out with us today on God Dreamers. And so welcome, my brother.
Hey, Todd. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man. So Antonio and I work together, serve together, I would say, at our church. So we've known each other for, I don't know, about a year now, I guess.
About a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah. So we're both a part of our men's ministry, and a couple of weeks back we had a kind of a get together one Saturday, and all this time I've known him, but I've never really had a chance to talk to him. And so we were having breakfast, and he kind of shared his testimony, and I was like, man, that is heavy duty. I definitely want to talk to you more about that on the podcast. And so I invited him to be on the podcast today just to kind of share his story. And so thank you again for being on God Dreamers, man. I'm greatly appreciative. And I know this is going to be good about hearing about your testimony.
Yeah, and I'm excited, and I'm glad you asked me to join this. So it was kind of an impromptu situation how it came up, but
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I caught you off guard, right?
But no, God lined it up the way He needed it to be. So that's what I say.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, man, share a little bit about yourself. I mean, you're currently a entrepreneur. You have your own business. Share a little bit about what you're doing right now, and then we'll kind of dive into your testimony.
So right now, currently, I have my own business. I build and manage WordPress websites. So I work with a lot of new and growing entrepreneurs. So I like that because I'm able to kind of meet them at their idea, help them take that and bring it to life. So that's my day-to-day life. And like you said, other than that, just serving at Victory, through the men's ministry, the production team. It's just trying to help where I can. Like I think that's what He put in me, the helper spirit. So I do that through my work and through serving in church. And outside of that, just a lot of time spending with my little 2-year-old nephew who helps keep me young.
Yeah, that they will definitely do that.
Yes, helps keep me very young.
Yeah, my granddaughter hung out with us. Well, the family came over for Mother's Day and had me running around the yard and down the street, and oh gosh, I was worn out.
Yeah, I know.
So they definitely can keep you young. I guess that's a good thing. At least I'm getting my exercise in, right?
Right. Like I'm tired. He's like, come on. I'm like,
It's like we've done this about 20 times now.
listen, the energy just seems like it never runs out.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, man. So yeah, share a little bit about your story. Like I said before, you early on, you had something that's very tragic that came up in your life, that kind of just basically threw your life upside down. So you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So It started when I was like 5 years old, and one night I was just sick, and my grandma thought I had a. She took me to the ER, and so they didn't see nothing wrong. They sent me back home, and so we went back and forth a couple of times, and one day I found out that I had leukemia. So they made me into the hospital, and I had to go through the chemo and all that stuff, and I had to have a bone marrow transplant or a stem cell transplant, and had to find a donor. So luckily, my sister, who was 2 at the time, she was a complete match. She was my donor for that. So I went through and got the transplant for my sister, the chemo and the radiation, and I was in the hospital for a while. And after that, I was cool because I went to remission for about
Mhm.
year and a half, 2 years, and then after that, I remember this day. We were in the doctor's office one day, and he was talking to my mom. He was telling her that, yeah, your son, he relapsed. The cancer came back. And I remember she just started crying. And I was maybe about 7 at the time. And I'm a kid. I don't know nothing from nothing. I was like, Mom, don't cry. Kids who relapse die. I'm not going to die. And I don't know if I was just young and naive saying that or that was God speaking through me somehow, but that's what I said in that moment. And so now I'm back in the hospital again, another transplant, more chemo, more radiation. But at that time, this is like 80, 88. So at that time, going through it a second time was almost like a death sentence. Because back then, they weren't advanced treatment. So it was like I literally had a 50-50 chance of living or dying.
Wow.
And yeah. And the
So what was
second
that?
time,
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
honestly, the second time was real rough the second time around. Because second time around, I almost died. Like I was like hooked up every machine in the hospital. And the doctors had to talk with my parents. There's nothing more we can do talk.
Hmm.
And so yeah, they said, yeah, the machine's doing everything. He's really not alive. There's nothing more we can do. But no, my mama, my grandmama, my parents, my dad, my friends, my family, my church members, they all did the one thing that they could do. It was pray. And
Yeah.
after a while, one day, I just woke up, and my mom said I woke up and just started talking like nothing ever happened.
What?
Yeah, and like the doctors, they scrambled, they looking at my chart, they running tests, they trying to figure out what happened, like how am I alive, what just happened, because they was like nothing more they could do. And finally, the doctor came to my mom and said, "There's no medical reason of how or why he woke up. It must be a miracle." And to this day, I'm 42. She still calls me her miracle baby.
You are. That's crazy, man. So you said you were how old you the first time?
5.
5 years old?
Yeah.
So I mean, do you remember? I mean, how did being 5 years old is kind of hard to process, I guess, or were you how did you process? How did you deal with that? And then come along with the second time around. I mean, how were you able to process that at such a young age?
I don't remember. I remember bits and pieces.
Hmm.
Like the first time, I just knew that I was sick. Like I didn't know to the degree of what cancer, leukemia, none of that was. I just knew that I was sick and I'm in the hospital. And like I basically lived there for long stretches, but I don't know how I really processed it at the time. I was kind of just in the moment, like I guess I have to be here until I'm not sick anymore.
Yeah. And then the
And then,
second time you were a little older, and so you were more aware about, this leukemia coming back. And did you fully understand what that disease was, the cancer was?
well, I definitely remember the sickness and all the sickness from the chemo and being in the hospital. I remembered all of that. I'm like, okay, I have to do this again. But I wasn't I wasn't aware of the seriousness of it. I wasn't aware of the fact that I could die because I'm like, oh, I didn't die the first time. So I'm like, I wasn't aware of how serious it was as a child. 'Cause like, when my mom started crying, I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going to die. I didn't know that. I had no clue whatsoever. But
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
was like, okay, I'm going back in the hospital. I'm going to stay here a little while. They're going to do other stuff, and I'm going to go back home. So it wasn't really. I didn't really
Yeah.
grasp the depth of it until I got older and looked back on it. Like, yeah, I was almost gone.
Yeah. And then you had another challenge. I think you was later on. How old were you then when you had the when you were back in the hospital again?
Okay, this was years later. This is like
Years later?
2014.
Oh, this is well, I won't say fairly recent, but
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just like
ten,
this was the
10 years
childhood stuff.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a dry cough like through the summer. I ignored it. Like by this time, I think I'm Superman. Got to beat cancer twice. I'm good. Nothing can take me down. Blah blah blah.
Mm.
So I'm like, a cough is nothing. I ignored that and fast forward, ended up in the ICU with pneumonia. So I had pneumonia, and then I got to the emergency room, and I felt okay. Because before that, I felt like I was like lifeless in the house. And I got there, I felt fine, and then all of a sudden, I'm in the room with the nurse, and I can't breathe. Like I can't catch my breath. And so she gives me the oxygen mask by the bed, and I put that on, and I still can't breathe. And then next thing I know, they bring in this big spacesuit looking oxygen mask thing, and I'm like, they put that on me, and I still can't breathe. I can't catch my own breath. And she's like, Mr.
Wow.
Taylor, if you can't breathe, we're gonna put you in a breathing machine. And I'm like, whatever you gotta do, but I can't breathe. I'm like, just let me call my mom. So she gave me the phone. I called my mom. I dialed her. I said hello, and I couldn't say anything else. I handed the phone to the nurse, and then I just blacked out after that.
What?
Then like I was just out, and it turns out I had pneumonia, kidney failure, I was sepsis, like all the same, and some type of bacteria all at the same time.
Dang. Wow.
And and again, they're like, you were hooked up with everything in the hospital. I'm like, I don't remember any of it. I just remember handing the phone to the nurse, and then I was just out. I
And
passed
out.
out. Yeah,
How long were you out for?
maybe about 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Yeah,
So you were in a coma then?
yeah, I was in a coma. And this was
Wow.
I was at South Florida Medical Center.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah, and I woke up, and I've been under so long. I had no strength. Like I couldn't even hold a fork to feed myself. I couldn't walk. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't do nothing. I was just kind of just like wasted with nothing at that point. 'Cause I remember the nurse came in and she was like, Mr. Taylor, let's see if you can stand up. You know, me, I'm like, can I stand up? Of course I can stand up. I couldn't stand up. So as soon as my weight hit the floor, I just collapsed. And she was there to catch me, but like she just trying to see how bad it was. I'm
Yeah.
like, I laid in that bed like I can't walk. I have to learn how to walk again. I didn't know how to even mentally process that in my head. Like the fact that I couldn't. I went through all that. Now I can't walk. So I had to learn how to walk again after that.
That's crazy. And that's not even including the so I guess we got to back up a little bit. So when you went through your your chemotherapy, it actually had some effect, bad reaction to your pigmentation, right? And so your pigmentation was changed, or you lost pigmentation during the treatment, right? From my understanding.
Yeah. So so one of the things that can happen when you have a transplant is something called GVHD, it's graft versus host disease, and that's basically where your host cell and the donor cell are fighting against each other.
Mm,
And so there's literally like a war going on inside your body. And there's a whole list of things that can happen. And one of those things is pigmentation loss. And it can be slight or it can be severe. And mine was more on the severe side. So like it started like my skin just started peeling off like dandruff. Like it just started just flaking off. Like all my colors started coming off. My mom was like freaked out. She didn't know what to do. She ran me to the hospital. And
yeah.
they were just like, yo, the GVHD is just really bad in him. And this is just, one of the effects of it. And like it was worse than it is now. Over the years, it's kind of some of the colors came back, but
Yeah.
at one point it put me all flaked off. I was like this kind of pale looking complexion, and then just know that was just the long lasting effect. Like I'm 42 now, so it never really completely came back to normal. But I was one of the things that I was kind of left with after that.
Yeah.
But it was
So
just so crazy to see it happen. I'm like, what is going on? Like, you know, you scratch damage off your head, my skin was doing the same thing. My
same
color was
thing.
coming off. Yeah.
So how did you? I mean, how did you cope with all of that? I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, I can't imagine going through all of that, and yet and still you went through it, and then like going back to school eventually, and dealing with people that don't really necessarily understand your situation, and sometimes people, especially in like in school, kids can be kind of cruel. So I can only imagine. You know, I mean, maybe that was different. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah. So, mind you, this is the late 80s. So people were very, very less tolerable back then. So it was like, school was hard. Like, it was like, I don't even know how I did it. Like, because I was in elementary school and I went back to school. Because I was homeschooled for first grade and third grade. But going back to school, it was like, no one has seen anyone that look at me before. It was kind of just this. I'm just that outcast immediately. Like, okay, everyone's looking, staring, pointing, laughing. People would jump out the way when I'm coming. It was a lot. So like, yeah, elementary school, those years were really rough, and I don't even know how I got through it or what it was. Like, I guess it was one of those things where like I have no choice but to get through it,
Yeah.
but it didn't make it any easier. Like there was something I didn't want to leave the house because like I knew that no matter where I went, somebody's going to look, stare, say something crazy. Like parents would pull that kid away from me. It was a lot. It was really rough.
I'm just mesmerized on your ability to be able to press through that. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I could have. I probably would not have want to see people at all. I would, just stay in my room. But you were able to still go out there and do what you had to do. Man, that's super courageous. And yeah, I guess even back then, you may not have. I guess God was with you that whole time, even though you may not have realized it at the time. But just to be able to go through all of that, and keep moving and keep living. Were there any times, during this whole situation where you just kind of felt like you wanted to give up, or were you all, did you have somebody in your life that kind of, I know you with the parents and maybe a friend? Did you ever have a friend that kind of encouraged you along the way?
There was definitely times there was plenty of times I wanted to just give up. Like I can't do this anymore. I just can't do today. It was. I can't say that I had like any friend. Well, I had friends, but I can't say there's one who like, yeah, you got this. But it was really my parents, and like I said, maybe it was God with me, giving me that strength to go through it. But there was some days like I just want to stay in the house. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to go through that today. So there's plenty of those times where I wanted to give up and just didn't want to be here anymore. 'Cause I felt like honestly, it was a phase where I went through. I was maybe a little older. I was actually angry at God, like why'd you leave me this way? Like you could
Hmm.
have just killed me. Why you let me die? Why'd you leave me like this? Why'd you let me go through all this suffering and hardship for that? Like I went through a long time really angry and mad at God. I'll be honest. Like like it was like but like I'm grateful to God you left me here. But why'd you leave me here like this? And I carried
Yeah.
that for a long time.
Wow. So, so when did you finally? I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. When did you realize that this is the way it is, and I'm just gonna trust God, and I mean, and just keep living and kind of get beyond that feeling. When was that time? When did that happen?
Hmm, good question. I would have to say I was definitely much. I was a big adult by the time that happened, but I don't know the exact time. But I got to maybe I can say about like 2017 ish. Cause so before 2017, I used to buy this stuff called Dermablend. It was like this skin concealing thing. I wore that stuff from freshman year in high school up to 2017 to try to hide the mask, the blemishes on my face, because I hated myself that much. So I literally spent all those years trying to hide that. And it was 2017 when I finally like, you know what, let me just get rid of this and just be who I am. And I ain't gonna lie to you, that first day walking out the door, I was so scared. And I'm grown, I'm an adult. I'm like, okay, so people really gonna see who I am, who I really look like, what's gonna happen, what people gonna say. And everything like
Mm.
nobody said anything. It's like nobody even noticed but me. And that's kind of why I got to the point where, okay, you know what, this is who I am and embrace that fully. Like I told myself I was good before then, but I was still hiding at the same time, so I wasn't really good. So it wasn't until that day in 2017 I'm like, I'm fully just who I am. I'm the result of what God brought me through. Not what He did to me, but what He brought me through.
Yeah,
I'm just going to carry that, in the best way I can.
yeah, because I know when I think when the first time I saw you, it's noticeable, but after a period of time, it's like I don't even. It's interesting how you because once you get to know you, man, it's like, man, this dude is really cool. I mean, I just love hanging out with him, and that's we see your heart and your and how you treat people and how you're involved and engaged, and that's the true part of you, right? It's not so much how we look, and so that's why I appreciate you, man, because if you didn't share that story with me, I didn't even know that it was like that. I didn't. So it's just fascinating that through that huge challenge in life, and you're no longer angry, no longer ashamed, but you just embrace it and say, okay, this is how I am, Lord. I'm just gonna just keep moving in you and keep serving you and be the best that I can. And that's a tremendous feat, because a lot of people haven't even gone through what you've experienced, and they're, for whatever reason, through social media, through just being attacked, and they can't handle it, right? And I've seen people unfortunately commit suicide because people have been mean to them and said terrible things. And I'd look at you and say, wow, I mean, God is amazing to see what you shared about some of the things you dealt with. And of course, times were different, but they weren't really different, man. People are people, right?
Yeah,
We have the tools now that kind of that can go further, with the technology. But we all dealt with knuckleheads growing up. We were knuckleheads growing up.
yeah.
So,
That's
so
for
yeah,
sure. Like that, people don't change. It's like you said, the times and the technology changes.
yeah, but people don't change. Yeah, yeah. Only through Christ we change.
Amen. I can
so
attest
so
to that.
yeah. So let me ask you this question. So for those who are watching that are kind of going through some challenges, some obstacles in their life, I mean, what would you have to say to them, as far as pressing through? What words would you have to say?
Um, Honestly, I would say the first thing I'm saying is just take it to God and be honest with God. Like He knows what you feel, what you're going through. So if you're angry, take the anger to Him and release it to Him, or if it's hurt, whatever it is, because He, like you say, He can't heal what you don't reveal. So just be honest and then like, God, I'm angry with this. God, I'm I don't like this, and just be honest and leave that with him, because he can start to heal you once you let it out. And that's the first thing. And just know that you can take your honest feelings to God, because He knows them anyway. He created your emotions. He knows what they are. He's just waiting for you to confess it to Him, and start there. And then know that God created you, so that there's no one else in this world that can say anything that is greater than what God says about you. Because like that was my problem. I lived my whole life and I wasn't able to see myself the way that God saw me. Even when He put other people around me that did, I wasn't able to see that. So you have to be able to, get close to Him so you can see yourself the way God sees you. And then, the words, the noise, everyone else, all those things start to quiet down. But just pray and get close to God, and He will heal it all. Because that's what it. But when I was out here trying to self-medicate with, weed and the drugs and drinking and the partying, it never worked. None of it worked. It wasn't until I just came to God honest, like this is what I'm feeling. That's when the healing and restoration started to begin.
That's good, man. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, we all have challenges, man. But only God can heal us and set us on the path where we can be overcomers and be victorious. And that's the awesome thing about God. It's the awesome thing about Jesus. So what's going on in your life now, man? What's up in your life?
Same with the work. I'm trying to find more ways to do what I'm doing now, to tell a story. Because for years I sat on it, and God told me, like, look, I didn't give you this testimony for you to be quiet, so to kind of to tell it more. So just trying to find ways to encourage people through that. Because sometimes I think that what you go through is what God is meant for you to help someone else through. So it's kind of my main thing there, just finding more ways to encourage and uplift other people outside of running business. Because work is work; it's always gonna be there. But what we do for the Lord, that's all that lasts. I'm trying to find more ways to lock in there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
instead,
So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and try to keep up with my nephew.
Yeah. The mighty feat of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned that you sharing more, and you recently posted something on Instagram about kind of a short snippet of your journey. So what prompted you to do that?
I think I tell people that God wrote that, because I would woke up that day, getting ready to work, minding my business, and then it's like He literally interrupted my day and said, "Stop! I need you to do something." And like it wasn't even my idea. I didn't plan that out. I didn't come up with it. It just came to me out of nowhere. And I made the post, and I sat down with a blank notepad. I didn't know what to write, and I just sat there, and it just started just coming to me. And at first, I wasn't gonna post it. I'm like, I'm not gonna post this. It's too long. No one's gonna read this. No one cares. They're gonna think I'm crazy. I'm not gonna do it. So I'm like, do it. I'm like, okay. And so I made the post and went on about my day, not because I wasn't expecting anything from it. So I just went up, and all of a sudden, phone just started going crazy. I'm like, what is going on? I'm getting all these alerts. I'm getting all these messages, all these comments, likes, posts, shares. People was taking the post and putting it in stories. I'm like, what is going on? And I'm getting phone calls, text messages. And the crazy thing was that there were people I went to school with. Um, People I didn't say 5 words to at school. Like, they're
What?
like, yeah, like they were like, I always admired you, or you were always an inspiration. I'm like, what is going on? Where is this coming from? Like, we never even spoke to each. We said 5 words to each other in 4 years. Like, what do you mean? It was like, yeah, like I never said anything, but no, I always saw the way you just came and did everything. But you never stopped. I'm like, God, what's going on here? What is this? It just took on a life of its own, and it was like, okay, so that's why you want me to stop and do that. Because in that, like, there's other people like, you know what, I was encouraged by that, or people were like, this is what you need to do. I'm like, really? And one thing from that, He showed me that the thing I was searching for all the time, like the acceptance, the fitting in, the one to be like all the stuff I wanted. Like you never needed because you had it there. You just couldn't see it because you couldn't see yourself the way I saw you. So the post had two sides. It encouraged other people, but it showed me something too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It was
it's just
really good.
like,
It was a really good post. It really was. I mean, and I think I'm trying to remember if I saw the post before I talked to you or after I spoke to you when we had that breakfast. Did I bring it up to you? I
um,
can't remember. Anyway, I guess it
yeah,
doesn't really matter. But I mean, but it was a powerful post, and maybe I'll show it on this video. But yeah, man, it was really powerful. And the funny thing about it, this is one thing I love about God is that I think sometimes we are our worst enemy.
yes, yes, we are. We
Oh,
the
because
worst.
we're so of course we can't do anything outside of God's help. But I think a lot of times, man, we see ourselves, you know, totally different from the way God sees us. We see ourselves as defeated and not attractive, or not that smart, or just piece of trash. But then God reminds us that we're somebody in Him, and He sees us, which is powerful, man. And that's kind of how I feel about that post. It's like what you shared there was like, wow, I didn't know all these things that you experienced, but it was powerful, and that see your journey and how even though you may not have known it at the time, but God was there the whole time. And so
Yeah,
it was just a really good just inspirational post. So you guys got to check out his post. Yes, share where they can find you on um Instagram.
oh yeah, on Instagram, I'm Mr. Antonio Taylor, and I'm pretty much that on Instagram and Facebook. And those are the only two places I'm at on social. I don't do X really. Instagram and Facebook, Mr. Antonio Taylor. You can follow me there, read the post he's talking about. And yeah, I just hope that, everyone else learns to, just embrace who they are and how God made them. And then just drown out the noise. People are going to be people. They're going to say what they're going to say. They're going to do what they're going to do. But at the end of the day, you have to, believe what God says.
True that. True that. Well, thank you, man. Thank you so much for sharing your story today. Like I said before, it's been really inspiring. And I didn't know until we talked about it. And so it's been a blessing to me for sure. And I hope that it's a blessing for those who are watching. And I know it's a blessing for those who are watching. And yeah, man, thank you again for hanging out with us. And just look forward to what all God has in store for you as you continue to press towards the mark of the prize, right?
Yes, sir. That's what we got to do. We got to keep pressing.
Keep pressing for sure. Alrighty, guys. Well, y'all take care. Until next time, if you want to know a little bit more about God Dreamers, we have our we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We also have a website, goddreamers.com. Reach out. I'd like to know, have somebody that you know that would be a great story to share. Reach out to us, and we'll reach out and make it happen. So, God bless. Until next time, you guys take care.